Welcome to The Cap, where we are here to speak with college reps and other professionals in the field of college admissions to help answer all your questions and guide you through every step of the process. So if you're serious about college admissions, you've come to the right place. Are you ready? Let's talk about it. And now, here's your host, Dr. John Durante. Welcome to The Cap, the College Admissions Process Podcast. I am your host, John Durante, and I am here to introduce you to college admissions representatives and other professionals in the field of college admissions. Our purpose is to serve you, the students and parents, so that you may gain insight straight from the people who ultimately make the decisions. Regardless of whether you apply to a particular school being highlighted in a given episode, you should listen to all of them, as each guest will give you tremendous insight and advice on every aspect of the college admissions process, prompting you to come up with your own follow-up questions for when you visit campus or meet with a college admissions representative yourself. Don't forget to visit our website, www.collegeadmissionstalk.com, or the show notes of each episode to access the alphabetical list of all the colleges available with the related audio link to the right of each school. The alphabetical list provides you with on-demand access to all of the episodes so that you may listen whenever you wish. And if you want to receive links to episodes before they are released on the podcast, along with other related resources, please fill out the email opt-in form also available on our website and in the show notes of each episode. Lastly, please email me with any questions or comments at collegeadmissionstalk@gmail.com. So are you ready? Let's talk about it. Welcome to The Cap, the College Admissions Process Podcast. I am your host, John Durante, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome back Matt Lucatamo, who's the Assistant Director of Admission at the University of Delaware. Now, Matt, that is a promotion from the last time we met you, so congratulations on that, and thank you so much for coming back. Matt, by the way, for our listeners, he did episode 17. So, Matt, how are you today? Welcome home.
Thanks, John. I'm good. I'm happy to be home.
Well, happy to be home as well, Matt. And welcome back. We really appreciate you again. You were here for episode 17 that got one of the most overall downloads as Delaware continues to become more and more popular as the years progress. So, Matt, let me start by just asking you, as a graduate of the University of Delaware yourself, and now having worked in their admissions office for quite a few years, what are some of the things that you love about the University of Delaware, both on and off your campus?
So I am a Delaware resident, so I never really left. But there's something that kept me here. And one of the biggest things is the cozy college feel of what UD has to offer. So, if you think about a stereotypical college campus in a movie, it's the brick buildings, the tall trees, the long walkways. You got like open green space. It kind of is that stereotypical like what a college sort of feels like. And then inside of the classroom, Delaware offers small academic settings, so there's a lot of discussion-based learning opportunities. Not everything is just spent in a lecture hall. You get that overall sense of a welcoming community that kind of encourages and fosters both personal and professional growth. And our creamery is delicious. I feel like I would be remiss if I did not mention the farm and all of the ice cream available to students.
Well, that is awesome. And I've been on the campus quite a few times myself when I was doing research with my daughters. And it is an absolutely beautiful campus. The creamery is amazing, a true testament to an example, if you will, from farm to table. Like you said, you have the farm there. It's a student-run creamery, which is absolutely phenomenal. So thank you for pointing that out.
And the raspberry cheesecake ice cream is my favorite.
Well, I love cheesecake, so the next time I'm back, I'm definitely trying that one. Thank you, Matt. And can you tell us about anything new going on at Delaware since we last spoke, or any recent developments or changes that prospective students and their parents should be aware of?
Yeah, for sure. On the admissions side of the house, there's just a couple new dates that we're trying for this cycle. So our honors college and nursing deadlines now do not follow early action or regular decision timelines. So both of those programs are now December 1st deadlines with February release dates. We'll see if pending the future, if that will stay true. But for this current cycle, that's kind of what we're sticking with. Outside of admissions, we're also building a new interdisciplinary lab space. We're rebuilding our Chabad house on campus, and we're renovating Pearson Hall, which is one of our engineering spaces.
Well, that's terrific. And it's always great to hear about new buildings and renovations. Again, the University of Delaware is truly thriving. And Matt, I even read recently that Delaware's retention rate is well over 90%. And of course, the national average is somewhere around 70%. So, what is Delaware's secret in terms of keeping the students happy and wanting to return each year?
I mean, I feel inclined to say me, I'm the secret. But I think a lot of it has to do with the support on campus that we provide for student success, both in and outside of the classroom. So we have tutoring centers in math, science, and writing, as well as a well-being center that provides mental health support. So group and individual therapy sessions, mindfulness yoga courses, and other mental health resources, as well as close like one-on-one academic advisement for students, a center for academic success. We have a center for intercultural engagement. There are over 400 student-run clubs on campus. So there really is we run the gamut of resources for student success, both academically and socially. And I think that's a big factor that keeps students coming back.
Well, I would agree. And there truly sounds like there is something for everyone. And your retention rate is a testament to, again, the great work that you do in admissions, but also the great work that the University of Delaware does to keep the students happy once they're on your campus and wanting to return year after year. So, Matt, if possible, visiting campus, as you mentioned in our last conversation and even a little earlier, is so important to help determine fit. So, if a student and their family is able to visit campus, what are some of the must-see areas to help a student determine whether or not the University of Delaware is in fact the right fit for them?
Aside from the creamery, because that matters to me, I think it's a really good idea for students to, when they visit campus, it's a good idea for them to see where they'd spend their free time when they were here. So I would definitely recommend that they check out our student centers. We have 2 student centers on campus that house different office spaces, meeting spaces, different food options for students. We have a student gym. We have a 4-floor library that includes a multimedia center in the basement. And then our main street with over 60 restaurants and stores within walking distance of wherever a student needs to go. Whenever I visit a high school or students come to campus and I give their perspective presentation, I'm always honest with them about the challenges of college, that it is hard. But I like to drive home the fact that being in the right place with the right people and the right experiences makes those challenges more manageable. So that's what I recommend kind of extracurricularly. Academically, I encourage that students engage with our specific department tour options as well as just a general campus tour. So just to name a few, our School of Nursing, our School of Music, and our colleges of engineering and our colleges of engineering and agriculture. They all do personalized tours for their majors and facilities. So students can come to campus and get not only their general traditional kind of campus visit, but they can do a more in-depth department-specific tour where they also meet with faculty to get a really good idea of what their experience could look like if they decided to major in that area here at Delaware.
Well, that's great advice to definitely visit. And the way you explained it, students will be given the opportunity to meet with faculty from different departments, which can only help in the overall process. Like I said earlier, I've been on campus quite a few times at the University of Delaware. You mentioned Main Street with over 60 food options, which is awesome. Not to mention the many shops for the Blue Hens gear. So something to definitely visit, students. If you can't do so before you're applying, you owe it to yourself to visit at least once before you matriculate again, just to see if it's the right fit for you. So
And
we
if it is,
appreciate. Yes,
and if
Matt.
it is the right fit, walk home with a t-shirt or a sweatshirt.
That's awesome. And Matt, during our last conversation, you mentioned that one may apply to the University of Delaware early action or regular decision, and that the only benefit is that if you apply early action, you'll receive your decision earlier. You also mentioned that in terms of merit aid, it's the same regardless of how you apply. Has any of this information changed since our last conversation back in episode 17?
No, none of this information has changed. It all remains the same. As long as an applicant is fully submitted, so their application proper, whether that be the Common App or the Coalition application, their self-reported academic record, their letters of recommendation, and whether or not they are supplying their test scores. As long as all of that information is in by January 15th of their senior year, it has no priority effect on merit aid consideration or anything like that.
Well, great. We appreciate that. And I want to dig deeper a little bit into the overall application. So, obviously, Matt, the transcript is the most important part of the academic portion of the application. Can you walk us through what you are looking for when reviewing a student's transcript? And with so many high schools throughout the country and beyond, there isn't one uniform way, of course, right, to determine GPAs throughout all these high schools. So, do you recalculate the GPA or leave it as indicated on the transcript?
So as touched on your question, since every high school does format their transcript differently, Delaware utilizes a third-party platform called the Self-Reported Academic Record, or the SRAR, in lieu of looking at the high school transcript that a counseling office will send us when a student applies. So the SRAR puts every applicant on the same grading scale, and it takes into account the rigor of a student's courses. So we do recalculate on a weighted GPA system that helps streamline our admissions review process. And the SRAR is the platform that does that recalculation. In terms of what we're looking for on the actual transcript, we need 18 core academic credits. So to kind of break down how we get those 18 credits, we need to see 4 years of an English course, traditionally 4 years of a history or social studies course, at least 3 years of a math requirement, at least 3 years of a science requirement, and those 3 sciences, 2 of them have to be with lab. So if you've taken bio, chem, physics, or a combination of them, that lab component kind of covers that. We require 2 years of a foreign language taken in high school. So even if a student has taken language in 8th grade and they got high school credit for it, it does not count for Delaware's admissions process. So we need to see classes physically taken in grades 9 through 12. We also look for 2 academic electives. So the way to describe an academic elective, if you can receive a test in it, it's going to be an academic elective. So computer science, or if you took a financial literacy or personal finance or something like that, that's considered an academic elective, but choir is not. So that's kind of how we parse out the difference. And we need to see 18. So when we count those all total, we need to see 18 on the self-reported academic record when we are reviewing an admissions, kind of when we're reviewing an applicant. And it's important that we see every grade. So even though we're only counting 18 core academic credits, we want to see every class that you've ever taken on your SRAR, electives included, because every class goes into factoring that recalculated GPA. So it's important that students make sure that they're accurately representing their academic accomplishments on the self-reported academic record.
Well, I really appreciate you reviewing the 18 credits, and something that I didn't know with the world language, you're looking for 2 years of world language. And if a student happens to take a world language in 8th grade or in middle school, which oftentimes does count on the transcript, it doesn't count for the University of Delaware's 2-year language requirement, which must be taken in high school. Correct, Matt?
Correct. And you don't have to take 2 years of the same language either. You could take
Right.
Spanish and ASL, or you could decide in your junior year you want to take Latin or French and you didn't take it before. That's totally fine. We just need to see a combination of any 2.
Great. That's awesome. And I know that the audience is very sophisticated and they know what the self-reported academic record is. In case you want to share any links related to that, I'll put it in the show notes. But my follow-up question with that is there ever a point that you're actually looking at the transcript just to verify the grades that were reported, or how does that work?
Yeah, so in the review process, I'll only ever kind of look at the transcript if their SRAR looks like it might be incomplete, because we have the option to send an SRAR back to a student to say, hey, I see that you're missing a few of these things. Please put that in there. But it is important that their SRAR does match their high school transcript, because if a student is admitted to Delaware and they decide to enroll at Delaware, then when we receive their official transcript, if it does not match their SRAR, or kind of what they put that they were taking, or maybe the numbers, there was some academic dishonesty there, that could have an effect on their admissions decision. So we do eventually compare the 2.
Understood, and thank you for that clarification. And digging even further, Matt, when reviewing applications from, again, the various high schools throughout the country and beyond, how do you take into account when one student school offers, for example, 30 advanced placement courses, while someone else's only offers five?
It really comes down to utilizing the school report and the school profile that we receive from counseling offices when we review a student's application. So, it's important for us to see whether or not the student took advantage of the amount of rigor offered to them at their school. So, for example, if a school only offers five APs, but a student has taken four of them, they fractionally look better. That they've taken advantage of more rigor than a student that goes to a school that maybe offers 30 APs, but they only took three. So it's kind of rigor within the landscape of the school environment. So that's something that we do kind of take into consideration.
I want to welcome back Sean Patel, who's the CEO and founder of Prep Expert. Sean, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, John. Just wanted to do a quick shout out for an amazing deal that we have for college admissions process podcast listeners. We're offering 30% off all Prep Expert SAT and ACT courses and tutoring. It's live online. We've got the best score improvement guarantees in the industry. You'll get taught by 99 percentile instructors. And you can save 30% off when you go to the show notes of the College Admissions Process podcast. Grab your discount code for 30% off and click the link in the show notes.
Thank you, Sean. So great to have you again. And to everyone out there, please note that if you make a purchase through any of our affiliate links, the podcast gets a commission. But rest assured that we would only promote products that we believe in and feel would benefit our listeners. Thank you all, and best wishes. Well, we appreciate that. And again, for the students and their parents, it's very important to be familiar with your school's profile. Ask your guidance office. Most times it's on the school's website. And ask yourself, did you take advantage of everything that you had available to you or not? So, Matt, again, thank you. And I know that Delaware, like many other schools, is test optional. Can you share the percentage of students that applied and that did not submit their test scores? And does this change at all based on a student's intended major? For example, does your nursing program or any other competitive major require that the students, in fact, submit their test scores?
So last year, about 55% of our class applied test optional. So there is proof that students are still being admitted to college without test scores. And we are test optional for every major through the fall of 2025. So that means that the graduating classes of 2024 and 2025 will be able to apply to Delaware test optional for any major.
Fantastic. We appreciate that. And beyond academic achievements, what kind of extracurricular activities or experience do you value when evaluating applications? And does it differ based on a student's intended major?
I'll answer this kind of twofold. So, of course, I notice major related extracurriculars. Like if you want to be a political science major and you are interning for a state politician, or if you want to be a pre-vet major and you're doing patient intake at a vet clinic. Of course, I notice those things, and they are insightful to kind of see how you're spending your time outside of the classroom, and if you're kind of occupying your time with something that is kind of career goal oriented. But there's no specific experience that I value over another, because I also recognize that access to the number of extracurriculars that a student does varies from applicant to applicant. So some students may work two jobs, or they take care of a family member, and that's why they can't be the secretary of three clubs, and that's okay. My biggest takeaway from the activities section is seeing what kind of person a student is outside of the classroom, because at the end of the day, we're not just admitting students as academics, but we're admitting them as people who are going to spend 4, 5, maybe 6 years contributing to our campus community. So the activity sheet helps give me a little bit better of an idea of how a student might do that on our college campus.
Well, we really appreciate the examples, and I love how you talked about jobs or if a student has to take care of a family member. First of all, that gives you insight in terms of the type of person that the student really is. And if in fact they work every day after school, that's probably the reason why they're not participating in 4 clubs after school like so many other students are doing. So again, the transcript, it gives you insight in terms of the type of student the applicant may be while in your classes, but those activities, students that you participate in high school, is going to give people like Matt an opportunity to see the type of community member and how you're going to contribute once you're on their campus. So again, Matt, we appreciate it. And during your time in admissions, I know that you've seen a wide range of application essays, and we talked about this back in episode 17 as well. Are there any common pitfalls that you recommend students avoid in their essays? And what qualities or themes do you find resonate well in admissions offices?
As an English major, I love this question. When it comes to the essay, I'll start with this. Your essay is the only part of the application that you have complete control over. You can't go back in time and change your 9th grade geometry grade. You cannot control what your counselor is going to write about you in their letter, but you can control what you write about in your essay and how you choose to share it. So when it comes to tropes, try to stay away from common experiences that have somewhat of a universal outcome. Think the pandemic and kind of how we as a society navigated COVID-19. So that's kind of an example of universal experience, somewhat of a universal outcome. I would also recommend not falling into the trap of writing your essay about someone else's influence on you, because by the end of the essay, I usually know everything about them and nothing about you. And like that's really nice, but your grandma is not applying to Delaware, so that's where you kind of fall into that trope a little bit. So if you're going to write that kind of topic, make sure that you circle it back to what that person, the impact that they actually had on you, maybe what you learned, what you've taken away from them and their your relationship with them. Lastly, there is this kind of misconception that you need to write about a traumatic life experience to pull on the heartstrings of your admissions officer. But that doesn't always resonate with the person reading your application. So while I can't personally speak for the rest of the team here at Delaware, I usually find that themes of maybe generational family activities like fishing trips or making Sunday sauce or whatever it might be, music or something that doesn't take itself too seriously, those are usually my favorite essays to read.
Well, thank you so much, Matt. And I love that you talked about the fact that number one, it does not have to be a traumatic experience, right? That's good insight for students. But I also want to repeat what you said about when you write about someone else, perhaps a grandparent, like you mentioned. A lot of students talk about the grandparent, and many times I've heard this before in other episodes, the admissions people want to accept the grandparent, but they really learned nothing new about the student. So when you do that, students, it's really a missed opportunity. As Matt mentioned in the beginning of this question, the essay is the only part that you really have complete control over. Your courses are done. The activities you took part in over the last few years, they're done. But that essay is something that you really need to focus on, and I hope you're taking Matt's advice today. Matt, I also received some inquiries from parents asking about AP, IB, and dual enrollment classes, and whether or not schools accept them for credit. So does the University of Delaware accept AP, IB, or dual enrollment classes for credit?
Yes, all of the above.
Fantastic.
Students can Google, it's really just a quick search. They can just search UDEL AP credit chart or UDEL IB credit chart, and that will show a large conversion chart of every AP and IB score a student needs to receive on the exam to opt them out of taking that class here at Delaware. Most of the APs are going to be 4s. IBs are typically 5s and above. As for dual enrollment, we offer a tool called the Transfer Credit Matrix, where students would be able to select the state and institution that they took those dual credits through. And a chart pops up to show them every class that's ever been evaluated from that school and what it's worth at Delaware. Currently, any grade of a C minus or better will transfer for at least something, but equivalency between two courses is met by comparing syllabi between the dual enrollment course and UD's curriculum. So there's no guarantee that a course will transfer for the same title or same credit amount.
Understood, Matt, and thank you so much for sharing the scores, particularly with the AP and IB courses. And again, Matt, if there are any links you want me to put into the show notes, just send them to me, and of course, we'll make them available to the students and their parents. Matt, can you explain what opportunities Delaware offers students that may have had an IEP while in high school in terms of helping to ensure that they continue to be successful once they're on your campus?
Absolutely. So after a student enrolls at Delaware and they meet with their academic advisor over the summer, that usually happens about July, the student can utilize our Office of Disability Support Services, or DSS, as we kind of call them on campus. And DSS works with students to see what accommodations they've received in high school and how they can potentially be met on the college level to continue their academic success. So that could be alternate testing locations, or more testing time, or maybe only utilizing a computer and not writing things down, or vice versa. So there are a lot of different accommodations that can be met through DSS.
Well, awesome. And once again, the University of Delaware has something for everyone. So we appreciate your time today, Matt. Unfortunately, it does lead us to that last question, which is, what are your top 3 pieces of advice you would provide a student and their parents getting ready for the college admissions process?
Okay. I thought so when I was answering these questions, I sat here and I thought a long time about this one specifically. So, 3 pieces of advice. Number 1, make a spreadsheet. Students, make a spreadsheet of every school you are considering and every feature that you're looking for in that school. Those features could be, if they have the major that you want, if it's the campus size that you're looking for, if it's urban, suburban, rural, check off all of those boxes that are going to be the ideal college for you. When you kind of create that list, check off the features as you go throughout your college search to help you narrow down your application process. So this could even be in your sophomore, your junior year, as you're starting to navigate maybe what schools you're even thinking about applying to. And then once you get to your senior year and you know the schools that you are going to apply to, then take those schools from that spreadsheet and put them in a new one and write down all of the deadlines for the schools that you're applying to, because we don't make it easy. We're all a little bit different. And you don't want something to fall through the cracks just because you get busy in your senior year with sports or APs or homecoming or anything like that. So really, any sort of organizational tool that works best for you, implement it early, because you'll thank yourself later. So that's my first piece of advice.
Great
Um,
advice.
Thank you. For the students listening, as much as you are 16, 17, you want to be independent and you want to maybe not listen to your parents or families throughout this process, have some grace. Have some grace with your families, your supporters throughout your college application process. Because as much as it is maybe a little stressful or anxiety inducing for you, it's equally as taxing as a process for them, especially if they might be helping you pay your way for education a little bit. So have some patience with them, be open to their opinions and concerns, and don't automatically push them away if maybe what they're saying does not align with 17-year-old you, if you want to get off Long Island or anything like that. You think about, just make sure that don't push away your supporters because they want to help you. For the supporters listening, my flip side of the advice here, this is your child's first step into adulthood. You can and should want to support them throughout the process, but please do not do it for them. That is kind of, at least in our office, it's kind of one of the pet peeves a little bit. Like if we are communicating with a student and then maybe a parent emails and they don't even include the student on the communication. They don't even know that they're emailing their admissions officer about the student. So please do not do this process for your child. Let them take the lead in the conversation at the college fair. Let them send the email. Let them make the phone call, because this is their first kind of breakthrough into doing something for themselves. So don't do it for them, but please let them know that you are in their corner supporting them throughout the process.
Well, that's great advice, especially the last piece in terms of to the parents. Obviously, you want to be there in your child's corner always. But yes, let the students advocate for themselves. Let them write the emails, help them, but have them ask the questions. So, Matt, this has been phenomenal. I can't thank you enough for coming back. For those of you that are interested in the University of Delaware, in addition to this conversation, please listen to episode 17 as well, which is still very relevant. Matt, you were awesome. I'm so happy as I know that this is going to help so many students and their parents. Thank you so much.
Sweet. Thank you for having me, John. Appreciate it.
Our pleasure. And good luck to everyone out there with your college search. Take care. Best wishes all. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the CAP, the College Admissions Process Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please don't forget to tell a friend and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. I am your host, John Durante, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the CAP.
Hey John, this is Danny from the University of Rhode Island. Dormify is my go-to for the most trend-forward and unique products for all of my rooms over the years. I love that no matter how my style changes, I can always go to Dormify for inspo to style my space. I cannot recommend it enough for anyone wanting to make their space their own. Thanks so much, John.
Thank you, Danny, for sharing your thoughts on Dormify. For those of you listening, be sure to check out our show notes where you could find our Dormify affiliate link and our most updated coupon code where you can save 15% on most Dormify products. As a reminder, our podcast does receive a small commission for purchases made through our affiliate link, but rest assured, we only promote products that we believe in and feel would benefit you, our listeners. Thank you, and best wishes to all.